Bo Jackson was a Hall of Famer through and through, on and off the field, right? And like I feel like when you think of the GOAT, you think of Michael Jordan, you think of Tiger Woods. And I know Bo Jackson had a short life career, but I always felt like you should put him in the conversation when it comes to that, because he was the ultimate, like, professional when it came to the dual sport athlete. Like, he transcended the dual sport athlete too, with Tim Tebow, Kyler Murray, Deion Sanders, like all those guys. So, and obviously, mix of Jackie Robinson in the mix. Like, when you think of it, what do you think of like Bo Jackson's career?
Too short, but unparalleled. I mean, the reason I wrote about him, the reason I thought he would be an interesting book, is there's an air of mystery with him. Like, in a way, this sounds a little too hoity-toity, but like one of the characters is this whole idea of unfulfilled expectations and greatness being cut short. Like if Bo Jackson is a lot more interesting of a character to write about, having wound up as he did and not winding up as half Eric Dickerson, half Sean Green. Like, it's more interesting this way because there's a whole what if, what could have been. I mean, the guy ran a 4.13 40 at Auburn.
Ridiculous.
He ran a 4.17 on grass with the Raiders. He, in his first ever Major League at bat, 1986, Kansas City Royals, September call-up. He's facing Steve Carlton, who's a Hall of Famer. He hits a ground ball to second and beats it out. And it's the second fastest recorded time from home to first by a right-handed hitter in the history of Major League Baseball.
Wow.
Later on, he's asked what it was like to do that to face Steve Carlton in your first at bat. He didn't know who he was. Like, he had never heard of him. Like, he basically was like this guy who came out of air and did these magical things. And then he got hurt and kind of vanished. And all of that vanishing, the shortness of his career, the brevity, the amazing stories, not having it all available on Twitter and TikTok and all that, like not being able to see everything. Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's what makes him really interesting to me.
Yeah.
And I feel like today, like if that sort of athlete comes out, like, I mean, he's, making the catch in center field, the old Kauffman Stadium, and then running up the wall. And then you have the rush he has against Seattle where he just runs through the tunnel. And it's like, all right, well, he can't slow down, so he's going to run through the tunnel after this touchdown. Like, I feel like that would have been unbelievable given this certain, climate as far as, TikTok videos and highlights and so on and so forth. Like, the dude was a human highlight. So, like, I can't imagine that being today. But like you said, like, the fact that it stopped, he had that gruesome knee injury and then he just vanished. It's like, that's like you said, that's more of an interesting story, but it would just be interesting to me. Like, how would you see that sort of star athlete in two sports so dominant on both sides? Like, how do you feel like that would work today?
Well, you see it in a way. The best example we've ever had to Bo Jackson, outside of maybe Deion Sanders, is Shohei Ohtani, where we're seeing something we've never seen before. It's amazing. It's awesome. It's crazy. It's cool. It's dynamic. The difference is we see it all. Like, we're seeing it all. We are literally seeing it all. You can live anywhere. You can live right now in Guam and you can watch everything Shohei Ohtani does on your phone. That's a difference. Bo Jackson, there's no recording of him running a 4.13 40. We're believing it. There's no recording of him running a 4.17. We're believing it. Like, it's the air of mystique. There's no mystique anymore. I'm not saying that's bad or good, but there's no Victor Wembanyama, right? Imagine if he came along in 1986 and everyone was like, holy cow, there's this 7'4" 3-point shooting Frenchman. It would be like mythology, right? And when he would come over, he'd be like, what's he going to be like? What's he going to be like? There'd be a picture in the newspaper. There'd be some ABC News nightly feature on him maybe, and that would be it. And then he would come over and it would be like, holy cow. Well, we all saw Victor Wembanyama playing in France on our Twitter feeds. So it just sets a different world. I'm not saying it's better or worse, but there's very little room for mystique in sports anymore.
Yeah. There's no suspicion anymore. It's just everything's kind of given to you. You have highlights. You have all this, social media content. And I agree. And that's why I kind of, I definitely appreciate you writing the Bo Jackson book, because like I didn't know too much about Bo. But at the end of the day, now, you read about him and you can understand like where he came from and, the hardships that he faced, but also the good spots as well. So, Jeff, before we let you go, you obviously are working on a Tupac book. What's your favorite Tupac song?
Oh man, so many. I love "I Ain't Mad at You." I mean, that's an all-time classic. I really like he did one album with his own group called Thug Life, and not that many people have heard it. Actually, it's kind of weird, but it's a great album. He's a fascinating guy to write about, I got to say. In fact, the more I write about him, the more I feel like his music is the least interesting part. That there's so much about him that's fascinating. It's been cool. Total break for me from sports, which is nice. Always have that.
When do you foresee that taking ship?
It will be coming out next year. It's due September this year if I can survive. So
Nice.
I'm losing my I'm losing my mind a little bit. But.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because like obviously the fact that you bring that up now, and I just kind of going back to being growing up listening to hip hop and the whole kind of Tupac versus Biggie, the whole Bad Boys versus Death Row, and now you have like the Kendrick Lamar stuff. So it's funny how some of that stuff comes full circle. But then now it's just more about the songs. Back then it was legitimately like warfare, and like I've seen some of the documentaries and stuff, like, and that's the part that's just wild to me. Is like it started with the music, and then you had that. I forgot what year it was, but then you had that Source Awards where both of them were there. Yep. And then like Snoop got on stage and then just like didn't necessarily mention them by name, but then, basically said like West Coast or the East Coast doesn't have any love for, Tupac and Death Row. And it was like, I've just seen some of those videos since, and it's like, it's crazy. It's insane.
Yeah, no, I agree. And in hindsight, it's a real bummer. Like, these are really talented guys. Tupac was an insanely talented, not just rapper, but actor, and could have been something big. And it's all like, I hate that he died stupidly. I hate that he died for nothing. Like, that still eats me up. And working on this book, it even eats you up even more. So life's a fucker. What can you do?
Yeah, I gotcha. But Jeff, we appreciate the time. Thank you for joining. And everyone, go check out Bo Jackson's new book. It's a great read. I mean, Bo Jackson's book by Jeff Pearlman.
Ghostwriter.
Ghostwriter. Jeff, we appreciate the time. Thanks for taking that time today.
My pleasure, of course.
Thanks, Jeff.